So Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita was the very first one that, out of hundreds of translations, that actually inspired people to take up Bhakti Yoga seriously. There had been translations of Bhagavad Gita since the time of Thomas Jefferson in America. He had one in his collection. And in spite of these many editions, people did not really get the meaning of the Gita. And the meaning of the Gita is meant to hit us in a very visceral way. It's meant to be transformative and to change us. How is that change affected? The change comes from being less inclined to become angry, less impulsive, more thoughtful and controlled in our relationships, more detached from things which we know are not beneficial for us, addictive kind of behaviors. There are so many benefits from the process of becoming a yogi, and yoga is the topic of Bhagavad Gita. It is in fact a handbook of yoga. Yoga goes far beyond the exercises that most of us are familiar with. Yoga means to connect with the Supreme. Connecting with the Supreme means that in our lives we have a new purpose. And the Gita centers around the warrior Arjuna, who first hesitates, but then later becomes enthused to take up his duties as a warrior. Because his purpose changes from self-gratification to pleasing the Supreme. Connecting with and pleasing the Supreme through yoga. That connection invigorates and inspires him and energizes him to carry out his duties better than ever. So this is the purpose of Bhagavad Gita, to help us transfer, not change rather what we're doing externally in most cases, but rather just to transfer the reason for which we are doing it. And we can do just about anything for Krishna. We can raise a family for Krishna. We can work in an office for Krishna. We can teach. We can write. We can work. We can do construction. Just about anything can be used in Krishna's service once we know the art of yoga. So it is not what's the word, hackneyed. It's not formulaic. It is rather quite individual how we apply the science of yoga in our lives. So any minute we're going to have. Okay, are we ready? Okay, so Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, as it is the main. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, the Bhagavad Gita, as it is the primary source for what we have learned about Krishna consciousness in our society, in our Sangha. And in the course of my years as a student, I have enjoyed taking his writings and, as he instructed us to do, assimilating and then expressing in your own words. So I have a couple of editions of Bhagavad Gita that are of a poetic nature. And can I have those both for a moment? Yeah. I want to let everybody choose which one of these they would like to hear from tonight. This one is rather conventional and one's a little radical. Yeah. This is an edition of Bhagavad Gita which Srila Prabhupada wrote in 1962 in Bengali poetry. And my friends and I translated it to English for the first time. Gita Gan means singing the song of God. It's a beautiful, beautiful poem that Prabhupada wrote, and I tried my best to represent it in English. This is the Bhagavad Gita in rap. Some years ago I saw that Hamilton was very popular on Broadway. Yeah. So
My daughters love that.
Okay, if they can do Broadway with rap, I thought we could do Bhagavad Gita with rap. So call it the rap of God instead of the wrath of God, which is more reflective of the God with whom I was raised.
Yeah.
Okay, so which would you like? Do you have a preference? You're doing a chapter from one or the other, the rap or the poetic?
The rap.
Going once? Okay. All right, this is. So we'll start then from chapter 12, which is chosen for one reason, I think. Krishna Jivana chose it because it's the shortest chapter in the Gita. It's the chapter on Bhakti. Specifically, what does it mean to connect with the Supreme through Bhakti? All right, so what I'd like to do is read this if everybody like you can follow along reading, or you can just listen as you prefer. And I'm probably going to stop here and there and just kind of explain the content, if that's all right, as I've learned it from Srila Prabhupada. Should have a rhythm, but anyway. They say there are two basic ways for spirits to move on: the path of loving service and the path to reach Brahman. Adverse to God as personal, some make Brahman their aim. Are you that omnipresentness that has no form or name? Okay. So Arjuna starts the chapter with this question. And I'm going to stop right away because this is a fundamental issue in understanding Hinduism or spirituality in the Indian sense. Has anyone heard of Brahman? Who can define Brahman for me?
Indefinable.
The indestructible, eternal presence of living force is called Brahman, yes. And the meaning is? Brahman is truth.
And knowledge and infinite.
Right, so Brahman is an understanding of the Supreme which is impersonal. In other words, it is the energy, it's all pervasive. So Arjuna is asking Krishna, for me to progress in my meditation, is it better to think about Brahman or to think about God as a person? Okay, good foundational question. So Arjuna, the student, Krishna, the teacher, replies, to meditate on nothingness is trouble guaranteed, and though a perseverant person sometimes may succeed, if you will be my devotee and serve me with each breath, I'll personally pull you from the surf of birth and death. The perfect souls just think of me in pure exhilaration. If that's too much, try out a touch of bhakti regulations. For bhakti yoga teaches you to serve me with affection. If that's too quirky, work for me and slowly reach perfection. If doing that falls flat and you feel scatterbrained with fret, then serve the homeless, sick and poor, ignoring what you get. For working without wages like the sages you will find more pleasing than a PhD and easy on your mind. All right, so what does this mean? Now, this is called the yoga ladder. Yeah. So Krishna says, yes, the best thing is to think of me personally. It's okay if you prefer to approach Brahman, but I think I missed a verse here. It's Krishna's explaining, yes, it's a slow way. Yes, so it's troublesome. And if you are very perseverant, you may be successful, but Krishna will help the person who approaches him. This is the idea. There's a dynamism that doesn't exist in Brahman pursuit. Brahman pursuit is all about my realization, and I'm the center of things. You know, I mean, this is the materialist in general, isn't it? You know how many materialists it takes to put in a light bulb? Just one, and then the world revolves around it. But in bhakti, there are two. There is a supreme and there is a subordinate. There is a servant and there is a master. So Krishna says, pursue Brahman if you like, but the more expedient way is to approach me personally. Then he goes on in this beautiful yoga ladder. So the best thing is to be able to think of God in great joy all the time, even to the point where it brings certain symptoms of ecstasy, such as horripilation, standing of hair on the body, choking of the voice, tears from the eyes. And in great ecstatic love of God, these symptoms appear spontaneously. And that's the perfection. But in his very ecumenical way, Krishna says, if you can't do that, then try practicing bhakti. So what are the bhakti regulations? What are the regulations of bhakti? Well, chanting, hearing as we're doing now, offering food to Krishna, offering our love to Krishna, offering our prayers to Krishna, serving him. What are the others? Befriending him. So there's 9 different processes of bhakti. And the regulations are done even if we don't have this love. For example, we'll see devotees bowing down, offering their obeisances, and this is very strange to the newcomer. my friend Hridayananda Maharaj was visiting the temple with his mother many years ago. And as a sannyasi, a senior monk, it's appropriate etiquette to offer obeisances, to bow down in respect for this exalted ashram of lifelong renunciates. So as he and his mother were walking in the temple in Los Angeles, people started bowing down. He said it was like an air raid drill. She didn't know what to make of it. This is the bhakti regulation. It's the practice. In other words, we may not feel like it. We may not feel that respect and love, but by taking up the discipline, we offer obeisances. And by this, Krishna says, that teaches you to serve me with affection. If we don't have love, by practicing, that love will come because it's dormant in our heart. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhu Kabunoi Shravanade Sudechite Karya Udoyam. Love for Krishna is in everyone's heart, and by the processes of bhakti, especially hearing and chanting, that love awakens. But very graciously, he said, if that you don't want to bow down and you don't want to chant, you don't want to do all that, that's all right. Then just do your work for me. This is what the warrior Arjuna learns in the Gita. At first he's reluctant to fight because he's thinking it's not worth the trouble to kill and be in this battle. But when Krishna explains, no, you can do this as an offering to me. I have a purpose in your fighting. The other side is creating a burden on the earth. I want them eliminated, and you're my instrument. So you're doing your warrior dharma, not for yourself, but for my service. Okay. So that is a slower way, but it will also bring one forward to work for Krishna. That also, if one takes the fruits of one's work and offers some donation, that's like working for Krishna. However, even that, if you don't want to do that, he says, all right, that's right, do something selfless. If your selflessness does not extend to God, then do something selfless for others. Because that work, that selfless work will at least give you a sense of satisfaction that comes from goodness, from being kind to others, from giving. It gives purpose to our lives beyond the selfishness that infects us most of the time. So in this way, I love the Bhagavad Gita because it's so accommodating. Nowhere do we find in the Gita that it's this or nothing. You do what I say or go to hell. Yeah, there's never a threat. There's just the facts. Here are all the ways that you can move forward in your spiritual life. And it's more pleasing than a PhD. I saw the PhDs in the room react. All right, any questions or discussion on the yoga ladder? Anybody? Yes? Okay.
Yeah, I was wondering, can you define perfection here in 9.4? And it says slowly reach perfection. So what is the measurement?
Right. Perfection means the point where we are so much in love with God that nothing else matters, or it has at least equal importance. Right? We are thinking of God just as when one falls in love with somebody, they think about them all the time. Spontaneously, automatically, it's completely natural, not forced at all. So we have those relationships with our spouses, our beloved, our children, they're constantly on our mind. Perfection means when that power of affection is transferred to the Supreme. In order to do this, as mentioned earlier, we have to know God as a person. I was mentioning the other night, right, that if I told you that I love my wife, and you asked me which one is your wife, is she the blonde or the brunette? I don't know. Is she tall or short? Beats me, but I love her. Would you believe me if I said I love somebody I can't even identify? So in the same way, people talk about loving God in a abstract way. But if you can't say who God is, how can you love him? So people sometimes say, well, I don't know who God is, but it can't be Krishna. Look at this immoral Krishna dancing with somebody else's wife. But in fact, Krishna is the most complete definition of God. Krishna means the all-attractive person. So as my guru used to say, if you have somebody better than Krishna, tell us and we'll worship that person. Otherwise, you should worship Krishna. Okay, so, sorry, there, we lost the plot. Okay, so yeah, that's the perfection. Loving Krishna unreservedly, constantly. Okay. Oh, we lost it?
I lost the monitor.
Oh, we lost the monitor. Oh, sorry about that. Okay.
Yeah, also part of that was slowly, with perfection, slowly, how long does it take for getting to that stage?
Right. And because it's a ladder, there are steps to take. So the point of working for Krishna is a middle rung. And then after that comes the point of practicing bhakti. Okay, so in other words, it's good, it's very healthy and helpful to be working for Krishna, thinking of Krishna, offering donations to Krishna, but to practice the chanting and to come to the temple and offer fruits and flowers to Krishna, to have a guru, well, that is a higher stage. So slowly coming up to that point. And it's not driven by any sort of guilt, shame, or fear. It's driven by attraction. Because Krishna is all attractive. And so the more we're drawn to him, the more we want to do. We want to go just beyond visiting the temple and making a donation to the point of, okay, let me bow down, let me chant. And then through the chanting and the practice of bhakti, this affection for Krishna naturally grows more and more. It's a lifelong process. It's not something to do in a week, in a weekend retreat. But living our life for Krishna, offering ourselves to Krishna, this is the essence of bhakti. And it's really not taking anything away, except maybe some bad habits. The only thing that we do is just add Krishna, and this slow progression takes place. Any other thoughts on this? Yes?
I had a question about ignoring what you get. Does that mean when we serve others, sometimes people appreciate us, and sometimes that gets to our head?
Yes.
Or when they don't appreciate us, then we expect some recognition.
We expect some recognition, we expect some kind of reciprocation. Yeah, there was a story, there was a synagogue in a big city, poor part of town, only two rich people in the congregation, two rich men. So the rabbi was giving a sermon, a very impassioned sermon, and people were just struck by this beautiful sermon. So much so that one of the rich men stood up from the front row and he threw himself before the rabbi and he said, "I am nothing. I am nothing." And everyone was just moved to tears. And then the rabbi went on, and then the other rich man, he got up, threw himself before the rabbi, "I am nothing. I am nothing." And everyone was so amazed and touched. And on the rabbi spoke and spoke, stirring. And then the janitor came up from the back, threw himself before the rabbi, "I am nothing. I am nothing." And one rich man says to the other, "Look who thinks he's nothing." So yes, this is that our charity is done with the purpose of getting some recognition or some return of some kind. Like people want their names on buildings, right? Stadiums, some kind of a legacy. And they're giving charity. That's why their name ends up on the building, right? Generous gifts, and then I'm immortalized on this plaque. So still, actual charity or actual selfless work means that Krishna is recommending, means you do it without, yes. Like sometimes people will just want to do some service anonymously. Sometimes they give a gift anonymously. Gupta Dan is called, right? Hidden. Or sometimes people will stay after in the temple and clean the floor and nobody knows who did it. Because they don't want recognition. They just want to have the connection. Okay? This is the kind of charity that Krishna is advising, or, yeah, right? Selfless work. Anything else?
I was thinking, this is so beautifully written, it's almost like formulaic, because if it says like if the perfect, like if it's too quirky to have that personal bhakti
relationship and can just do this. If you go from the bottom, it's almost like you'll end up at the top anyway.
Yes.
You start, with what you have, like helping the homeless or just working slowly for perfection. Eventually you get to the point where you are constantly in pure exploration.
Yes, that's exactly right.
It's really cool to see how that even with tango.
Isn't Krishna so accommodating? No threats. No threats. Even at the end of the Gita, Krishna says that, Arjuna, now have you heard everything? Now I've told you everything, now do what you want to do. Just do what you wish to do. I've explained everything, now you make the choice, do what you wish to do. And I always remember my friend saying, that's my favorite verse in the Gita, where Krishna says, do what you want to do. So now, having defined the top of the yoga ladder, the top rung with the unalloyed bhakta, a devotee, Krishna now describes these beautiful qualities of the devotee. My devotees all aim to please and act without false pride. In laughter or disaster, they are always satisfied. So tolerant and self-controlled in peace or in disturbance, they tender no agenda but to focus on my service. My devotees see no one needs to feel anxiety. They tolerate and don't berate, and they are dear to me. Depending on me constantly, devotees feel carefree. They're chill, fulfilled, and highly skilled, and very dear to me. They never scratch the itch that pitching partying or grief. Released from lust and all its bluster, they are dear to me. They're never fazed by praise or hazing, freezing cold or heat. They're fair to friend and foe, forever very dear to me. By purging all impurities, they pack their lives with peace. By serving in all circumstances, they are dear to me. Attending me and rendering me service faithfully, my pleasure is their purpose. They are ever dear to me. Ah, too late for this. That's right. That's the end of chapter 12. I thought it's the shortest one. If we run out of gas here, we can do some more. But let's go back and go over these. Huh? Okay, so devotees trying to please. This is called the service mood. When we recognize our relationship with God as servant, that spills over to all of his parts and parcels, all of his sons and daughters, because we are all servants of Krishna. And so the service mood naturally shifts to others as well. Not that it goes from Krishna to others, but by serving Krishna, that includes others. Has anyone ever heard the phrase, Mana Seva, Madhava Seva? Right? So what does this mean?
Serving the people is serving God.
Yes, serving man is serving God. So this is a phrase we don't find in Bhagavad Gita. Serving man is a byproduct of serving God, not a replacement. But the qualities of the devotees emerge in relationship with others. In laughter or disaster, always satisfied. There's a beautiful poem by Kipling called If. Anyone ever heard this poem? If you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat these two imposters just the same. Right? Imposters. What it seems to be a disaster or seems to be a triumph, they're both just our interpretation of events and not the real thing. Because in this world, our very life itself is more or less a disaster. Just being here is a disaster. Why? Because whatever we do, we can't hold on to it. Whatever we gain, whatever we accomplish, it will be gone. And it's called the ocean of birth and death. So in this sea of birth and death, where we are inevitably going to forfeit everything, whatever good or bad things happen are really not of that much consequence. We tend to give them a lot more importance than they really deserve. That is because it's all we see. We don't see the bigger purpose of life, which is to serve God and return to God when we leave this body. tolerance, self-controlled, and peace or disturbance. These steadiness. And they have no other thought but to focus on serving the Supreme. They also, devotees, this is very nice, they see that no one needs to feel anxiety. In other words, there's no impetus to try to make others feel uncomfortable. In fact, just the opposite. Everywhere we go, we want to try to help people feel encouraged and welcome and happy. So we want to be the kind of person who make people smile. Make people smile wherever they go, not whenever they go. They tolerate and don't berate, and they are dear to me. These are the things that make one dear to Krishna, not being in conflict with others unnecessarily, depending on me, feeling thus carefree, trusting God, in other words. Right? It's a very deep trust to come to the point where we actually feel no anxiety because we are confident in the protection of the Supreme. That's an advanced point, but it is attainable. And that allows us to go through the vicissitudes, the ups and downs of life without getting too affected either way. Chill, fulfilled, and highly skilled. Devotees are expert. There's a saying, to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. Right? So Srila Prabhupada said that a devotee is a jack of all trades and a master of one. So we should know one thing that we're especially keen to do for Krishna, but be able to do whatever is necessary. They never scratch, I have to translate rap to English here, so. They never scratch the itches, pitching, partying, or grief. Okay, so this means that there's always the inclination to celebrate successes and to lament failures. And that urge, which is natural, which is strong, it doesn't knock us off our spiritual trajectory. We'll feel it and we can celebrate a little and we can lament a little, but it doesn't consume us. Released from lust and all its bluster, they are dear to me. Yes, so the sensual experiences of the human being are highlighted in advertising and cinema and in popular culture as the pinnacle of human experience. And this is, again, another trap of illusion that does not catch the devotee. The devotee can see these things are very ancillary, incidental parts of life. They're never fazed by praise or hazing meaning criticism, fun, making fun of. That's hard, when we are bullied or when we are neglected or mistreated, ganged up on. It's very hurtful. It doesn't mean that devotees don't have feelings. It just means that the feelings are recognized for what they are, ephemeral passing of happiness and sadness and joy and sorrow. So people may appreciate us, they may not appreciate us, and we have our direction in life and we go on anyway. They're fair to friend and foe, forever very dear to me. Yes, not partial. So cleaning out the unwanted habits makes us peaceful, always in the mood of service, always thinking of Krishna and trying to please Krishna in the best way. This is the beauty of the deity worship. That we can offer food to Krishna, we can offer prayers to Krishna, we can dress Krishna, we can make garlands for Krishna, we can buy beautiful jewelry for Krishna and put it on him. And all of these opportunities to express love exist in this beautiful bhakti practice of deity worship. It is not just a cheap thing also. I mean, those who do it have to have particular skills and qualifications, but at the same time, everybody can have a little deity of Krishna in their home and offer their food. Offering food is perhaps one of the most impactful forms of bhakti practices. That elsewhere, Krishna says, whatever you eat, do as an offering, make it an offering to me. So just eating food, which is offered in sacrifice to Krishna, removes any kind of karma from that food. And Krishna also mentions, if you don't do that, then every time, with every mouthful, you're just eating more karma. which will come back in the form of various unwanted reactions. So my pleasure is their purpose, and such devotees, Krishna says, are very dear to me. Elsewhere in the Gita, he says, I'm equal to everybody. I'm not partial, but if somebody renders service to me, then I'm a friend to them and they're a friend to me. How is that possible? I'm equal to everybody, but I'm a friend to these guys. Doesn't seem fair, does it? But really what he's saying is that however we want to approach him, he will reciprocate. And in that way, he's equal to everybody. If we want to approach Krishna as a friend, he'll be our friend. If we want to approach Krishna in love, he will reciprocate that love. If we don't want anything to do with Krishna, he won't want anything to do with us. He won't bother us, let's put it that way. You see, so in that way he's equal and yet partial to his devotees. All right, any questions on this? Any other reflections? Yes?
With regard to the last state, isn't there sometimes, though, some kind of grace even for someone that's not involved already in worship, that they will be awakened and start to move towards Krishna?
Yes, Krishna says in the Gita, Yeyata mam prapadyate tam sthataiva bhajamya. Everyone is on my path. So it's like in society, for people who don't want to live by the rules and the laws, there's prison. And the prison is made by the government. The government also makes the colleges, the libraries, the museums, constructive places. But the government also makes the prison. So for those who don't want to observe the norms and the values, the mores in society, they go to the prison. For those who are willing to observe them, then they can enjoy all of the other facilities. In the same way, the prison is called the Department of Corrections, isn't it? It's run by the Department of Corrections. The purpose of it is to rehabilitate. And so similarly, this world is also created by Krishna for the purpose of rehabilitation. After we pound our head on the brick wall of sense enjoyment long enough and discover it does not fill the hole in our heart, then eventually we come to a point, okay, Krishna, there must be a God. Yeah, there must be some reason for that. See? So this world is sort of like that, the Department of Corrections. Okay? Anything else?
I think there's a lot of qualities. So there's almost 8 verses or 7 verses. It seems like a very high bar.
Mm-hmm.
So when we read these verses, what should our mood be? Should it be, let me pick 1 or 2 and try and be intentional and deliberate about practicing them?
Uh-huh.
Or if I chant properly, then eventually these qualities will come.
The latter. It's said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the postgraduate study of Bhagavad Gita, Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana savire gunara tatra samasate sura. And by practicing bhakti, all the good qualities of the human being and even of the greatest amongst the humans all manifest automatically. That's the byproduct. So we don't have to focus on developing this or that quality as much as focus on pleasing Krishna. And because that is our natural position, and if we focus on that service, the good qualities manifest as a byproduct. See? So we don't want to take our eye off the ball. It's a beautiful experience as we progress in bhakti to see that, I'm actually I'm not reacting as much to negative stimulus. I am feeling more stable in my consciousness, and to one extent or another, we experience these things more and more as we progress. It's not a matter of I believe this, I believe that, I should behave that way, I should behave that way. It's more a matter of how can I please Krishna? And just through that one change of consciousness, the qualities that we're describing here begin to manifest. Yeah.
And a corollary to that point, how do we know that we are pleasing Krishna?
How do we know that we're pleasing Krishna? Okay, that's a very important question. First of all, when we see Krishna smile, Krishna does reciprocate, and we feel joy in, just as we're talking about people feeling some satisfaction in giving in charity and helping others selflessly. So that's just a shadow of the feeling of reciprocation we feel when we do something for Krishna. People will come in to the temple and wash dishes and say, this is fun. At home, it's a chore, but here it's fun. By experience, we feel Krishna is pleased, and that's something that's very hard for people who don't understand that reciprocation to wrap their heads around. Why would people want to do things for an idol? But they have no idea of the joy that the devotees feel in doing these sorts of services. Also, as the devotee progresses, then there are mentors to whom we can address our questions and through whom we can offer service. Somebody who is further along on the path towards Krishna can take our service and offer it to Krishna. So that's a further step on the path of bhakti, to have a guru, to have a teacher. Many gurus. There'll be many teachers in the courses of our lives. Okay, thank you. And we know if we please the guru, then we're pleasing Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji.
You were saying that if we don't want to do anything, Krishna will also not. He reciprocates to our desires.
Yes.
So somebody may say, sometimes people ask this question that when we want to be alone and free from any obstacles, why does Krishna create these obstacles of birth that we just want to enjoy independently of him, and we want to have a life free from any obstacles? So he should reciprocate with our desire. Why is he forcing us to like kind of with these obstacles go towards?
Right, because we're trying to live a life without any restrictions while we're in prison. It's just, this is not a world where such a life exists. And through that experience of frustration that we get in this world, we'll come to understand there must be another status of life, different from the one in which I am presently wrapped up. So there is a life without obstacles. There is a life that's freed of the influences of old age and disease and death. There is a world that is not bound by time like this one is. That world, this is called the spiritual world, that their time is conspicuous by its absence. Everything is endless. The joy is endless. The activities are endless. The insight is endless. The love is endless. And there's no question of getting tired of anything. No question of having to stop something that you don't want to stop. There's no question of any obstacle to your free spirit. So that Krishna is helping us get to that place by putting obstacles in our path in this world. When we have nothing to do with God, then we're just in that obstacle-filled course of birth and death called samsara, or the world of karma. We do something good, we get something good. We do something bad, we get something bad. But we have to have a material body to experience the good or bad, which is inherently bad. But then, if we are turning to Krishna, if we're doing our best to turn our love and our devotion to Krishna, then everything that happens is controlled by Krishna. And Krishna will continue to put obstacles in our path just so that we'll adjust and course correct and go further in the right direction. That direction is not trying to find our happiness in this world of misery. I'm trying to find something permanent in this ephemeral environment. Columbus is full of obstacles.
The point that you made just now is very beautiful, because it shows that even if you want to turn our backs to Krishna and want to run away, Krishna is so merciful and loving that he even wants to bring those kind of people towards him.
Yes. Oh, everybody. Krishna wants everybody's love. God has everything except our love. Everything belongs to him, but our love, that has to be given voluntarily. If you hold a gun at me and say, "Do you love me?" I'll say yes. But will you believe me? So he could force us, but then is that love? Coercion and love don't mix. So he's inviting us to voluntarily give our bhakti, give our love. And if we're fortunate and intelligent, we'll take that opportunity. Anything else?
sometimes, but I remember that everything in the form world, by nature, is temporary, and we're constantly trying to make ourselves happy with things that are of this world, and that will never ever make us happy. So Krishna will, I think, allow us to, try to, like eventually maybe we can attain all the things that we think we want, and it's all gonna go away. It's all gonna eventually just go away. And in one of our satsangs, we heard like the difference between pleasure and like joy or bliss. And like whenever we're trying to make ourselves happy with something that is of the form world or material world, something that's temporary, it brings us pleasure, but that pleasure is temporary. But when we go beyond and we finally had enough life after life, and then we say, okay, there is, if you say there's something more, when we turn towards that something more, and we start to, in one way or another, connect, eventually we start to feel that bliss that is untouchable. It doesn't go away. It's so much deeper, and it has nothing to do with the form.
That's right. That's nicely explained. Exactly right. The symptom also of feeling that bliss from the permanent is that we lose the addiction to the temporary. Yeah, it atrophies. It falls away. That's another beautiful result of bhakti. That as we progress, we just lose interest in this world. All right. Doesn't mean we don't meet our responsibilities, but they no longer hold so much promise and importance. Yes, that's right. Just what I have to do to get by. All right. Very nice. Thank you. Anything else? Yes.
Krishna Ji Mataji asked this question is, the qualities should develop automatically, or we have to endeavor to, and you said chanting the holy name should develop it automatically. However, there are offenses to the holy name as you're chanting. You should not blaspheme, criticize devotees, and you should not have material attachments. So it seems like we have to work on endeavoring to be in a proper behavior with other devotees while we are chanting the holy name, so that ultimately we will pass the stage of enlightenment with you.
Right. The offenses. There are offenses to the holy name that will curtail our progress. However, the cure for those offenses is chanting. You see? So by reading of them, learning of them, we can recognize them. But we don't have to stop chanting and fix them. See? We just keep chanting, acknowledge them, recognize them. And again, in the same way, their grip on us, the habits that we have, that begin to loosen. We recognize if we are thinking critically of somebody else or behaving critically towards somebody. And at least we see, okay, here's some evidence that I need to chant more. Okay. So sometimes people say, well, you shouldn't chant if you're chanting offensively. That means the mind has won. So we chant offensively or offenselessly. We keep chanting with an eye towards that offenseless chanting, where we respect everybody, where we don't want any respect for ourselves, where we're tolerant through ups and downs, where we're persistent. Then when we get to that point, then we can always be chanting.
Sometimes devotees say that you fake it till you make it.
Yes, you fake it.
Act like humble person.
Yes. Yeah, right. With two caveats. First of all, we have to remember that we're faking it. Faking it doesn't mean we've made it. And we also have to remember that faking it doesn't mean we want others to think that we've made it. Okay? So that there is merit definitely in faking it until we make it. As long as we recognize what we're actually doing. This is exactly what Krishna says, isn't it? If you don't love me unconditionally, then follow the rules and regulations in bhakti. Act as if you love me. Chant as if you love me. Do the things that people who love me do. Okay. Should we do one more chapter before we wrap up for dinner? We could just do a chapter without discussion if you like, unless there's any more questions. Oh, yes, go ahead.
Could we do the singing chant? this Gita?
We could if and the other edition? Would you like to? Sure. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. A little contrast there. I set that up. Okay. Yep. Devotional service. I'm just going to read this because it doesn't wrap. Arjuna said, "O Krishna, I have another question. Kindly now respond. Should one seek pure devotion or should one pursue Brahman? To worship the unmanifest transcends mundane desires. Is proper service and devotion definitely higher?" Lord Krishna replied, "A faithful servant fixed upon my personal appearance is surely better off than the unmanifest adherents. Their hearts indeed, their very lives engaged in pleasing me, devotees are the topmost yogis, that is guaranteed. Yet those who choose to worship the unmanifest Brahman, the state that is immovable, unchangeable, or unchanging and beyond all common understanding, can achieve self-mastery. They're equally disposed to all and slowly come to me. The only difference in these paths is ease of execution. Devotees progress easily while mystics face confusion. Pursuing the unmanifest while dealing with the bodies creates a slew of troubles for the seeker of samadhi. Devotees render service as they meditate on me. They dedicate their life and heart to each activity. Released from speculation and from craving the mundane, they quickly are delivered from this world of death and pain. So therefore, fix your mind on my two-handed form as the essential form of Godhead in full personality. Stay linked with my eternal form, and love of God will bloom. Advancement in one's life, that is the greatest of all boons. But if you cannot simply fix your consciousness on me, then offer service in devotion systematically. Regardless if it's born of love or yogic regulation, such service quickly brings one into my association. And if you cannot render service so straightforwardly, convert your normal work into an offering for me. To labor for me in this way invokes my satisfaction and draws you to me due to ever-ripening attraction. If you're too weak to work for me and care not for devotion, there yet remains another path to spiritual promotion. Instead of simply working in a selfish way, begin to do some work for others and be satisfied with Him. To summarize, to serve in pure ecstatic love is best. If that's too much, by practicing devotion, you'll progress. If that's too much, then study, as the learned soul suggests. If that's too much, to meditate within yourself is next. If that's too much, some action linked to God is still a success, for lusty, selfish actions never bring you happiness. In summary, for peace of mind, renounce all selfishness. My pure devotees always manifest good qualities. They're kind to everybody else and have no jealousy. Non-envious and seeing soul ahead of the mundane, devotees can compassionately fathom others' pain. Devotees know that everything belongs to the Supreme. Devotees do without the common egoistic dreams. Devotees are self-satisfied and resolute to serve, engaged in pleasing me, their equanimity preserved. By offering their mind, their life, their intellect to me, these dear beloved servants stay perpetually free. They never coerce others into some adversity. They never bring to others mental pain or misery. By always keeping balance through both happiness and grief, my dear beloved servants are always linked with me. Continually balanced, unaffected, and carefree, remaining independent of mundane society, proficient, pure, and wise in day-to-day activities, the soul becomes a Vaishnava, forever dear to me. By neither celebrating nor lamenting mundane things, by neither giving in to greed or needless worrying, renouncing the auspicious and the inauspicious too, devotees garner my respect and love in all they do. Again, please hear as I describe my faithful devotee, who sees others as spirit, not as friend or enemy, impartial and adjusted both in fame and infamy, untouched by heat or cold, by happiness or misery, consistent in self-knowledge, shunning harmful company, content with very simple things in quiet harmony, detached from any dwelling, my determined devotee forever renders service and is very dear to me. All right, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All right, any last reflections before we wrap up? Okay, so prasadam is ready to be served. Do kirtan for a few minutes? Okay. I wanted to add, if you were interested in these books, I have these 2 versions of the Gita as well as some other books. This is a set of 6 of them. They'll be available later this summer, and we're taking advance orders. All we need is your address, and we can ship them to you. It's $40 for the set of 6 books, and we'll send them with an invoice. So if you would like a set, just give your address to Alankar Prabhu, and we'll take care of the rest. Thank you. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Radhanath ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Radhanath Swami ki jai.
Hare Krishna everyone. So on behalf of Temple Council, I'd like to express gratitude to His Grace Kalakantha for visiting Columbus for the last 4 days he has been here. And are you available tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Okay, so we had a very nice visit, and I'm sure all of you enjoyed today's.
Haribo!
So we'll request that you please visit us often here as much as possible. So it's really uplifts our spirits, and on behalf of the Temple Council, there is a small gift. It's a shawl, so
You can put this on.
Offer Prabhupada.
Thank you.
yeah, so we'll see the prasad there.